Greek salad days continued. And James brought me a treat home. He didn't mean to. He goes to the hospital and they give him, to get his chemo treatment, and they give him a sandwich every time. Is it every time?
Yeah, I don't get them if I'm there when they come around, and sometimes I'll be out of there before they bring the stuff after you've ordered it. I don't want to seem rude or anything like that, but gotta admit, I get it for the dogs. It was
so he brings the sandwich home for the dogs, and he asked for a ham sandwich.
Today. Ordinarily, I'd get a tuna sandwich, and actually, to be perfectly frank, I'd keep that for myself.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't eat it there because it's rude to eat it there. Pull down the mask. And when I went there was a guy rudely eating it. He was getting treatment, so maybe he was having, he had too much gusto to be having nausea. But his visitor was drinking some stuff, and of course, with a mask off.
I haven't had egg salad in so many years. Yeah. I think it's been like before you and I were together, maybe.
Yeah. Anyway, I think they make a pretty good egg salad sandwich there. As good as egg salad can get, baby. Anyway, you seem to be enjoying it. That's good.
Well, I'm eating it first because I expect it'll roast me out, but it's not roasting me out too bad.
Yeah, you're like me with anything.
And then I'll finish it off with Greek salad, and then that'll be left on my breath.
That will. So, I raised the issue quietly when the nurse says I'm going, and she's very nice. Oh, no, they're allowed to do that. They have to drink.
Yeah.
Okay, they're there a long time. The visitors should go out in the hallway and drink whatever they have, water or pop or whatever. Not stay in. The visitors shouldn't be allowed in there while COVID is going, but that's the rules. But the visitors should have their mask up at all times.
Yeah.
And this is the second time I've noticed this happening, raised a fuss, and all of a sudden I'm being treated as though I'm a bad guy for raising the issue. So,
Anyway. Yeah, James would have given this to the dogs. He meant to. But I said, well, egg salad's going to have onion in it.
This is right. Okay, so.
We could have maybe fished the green onion out, but I don't know.
Oh, I could have.
Good idea.
Well, it wouldn't make much difference. No.
You didn't lose it. So James is still talking about the Holy Bible.
Yeah! Holy Bible, Batman!
Why Batman?
Well, on the old Batman series, it didn't last very long. Yes, the ratings, I used to wonder, what happened to it? The ratings just dropped out after about one season. It was a real phenomenon. And apparently the ratings dropped out. I was disappointed.
Yeah, but it's good that it existed so that what's his name could play the mayor of what is that town that Family Guy's from?
Quahog or something.
Because he's a great mayor.
Place presumably in Rhode Island.
Who wouldn't want Batman to be the mayor?
Yeah, that's Adam West. So Batman has two alter egos, Bruce Wayne and Adam West. And the mayor now of Quahog, or whatever the name of that place. I suspect that's it. I don't know what it stands for. I mean clam or something like that. In some Algonquian language. It might be Mohegan, I'm not sure what the indigenous language was.
Not a hair there.
My point is, I'm not worried about my health or much less my life, by making fun of the Bible. Holy Bible, Batman! So all you folks out there who have belief systems and belief practices and religions and stuff like that. There are religions we've kind of criticized. We didn't make that much fun of Scientology. Scientology is a new religion. You know, like I've had one person tell me, "Oh, such and such religion can't help being somewhat violent because it's so new." Wow, okay. You know, Scientology's way newer than that, and Scientology's better smarten up when it comes to stalking people that criticize it and so on and so forth. Everyone, I don't care how new or how old the religion, Christianity is way newer than Hinduism and had better behave. Buddhism is way newer than Hinduism and had better behave. The religion that I was raised in might only be a little over 100 years old. And I don't worry about me making fun of their religion. Now, I don't go out of my way to make fun of religion, but hey, criticism in a democracy is not just a right. I'm afraid it's a duty. It's a duty. You've got to criticize bad things in your own tradition, but in other traditions too. That's just the way it goes. You can't have a democracy without free exchange of ideas. So that's why I paraded this book out here. I was wanting to make that point earlier and I forgot to do it. Does this come recommended? This is the Good News version of the Catholic Bible. I don't know. They take liberty with the translation to make it seem current. So there's a lot of explanatory stuff in here that maybe should be explained in footnotes. So, but this is for modern man, as it used to say, good news for modern man. Maybe they say modern people nowadays, I don't know. But
I'm fine with man. You see, man is, you can say, when you say mankind, that means everyone. That means women, children, whatever. Any human, right?
Borderline aliens, like Jimi Hendrix or whatever.
And, I mean, people can think, well, you know, women are a lesser form or whatever, given the language used to describe people. But I don't know about that, because really women get their own word. Man, it's both. It's not necessary. So
I don't know. It's eventually some idiot's going to come along and say, woman has man in it, and therefore it's a bad word. We've got to change it, even though it's not.
Yeah, I don't know, because it really doesn't matter what words you use. It's the intent behind them. Or,
exactly right.
You know.
Or women has men. Therefore, it's a derived form, and that's awful. The important thing is not to change language, but to change the way people think and act towards various groups. And by fiddle-faddling around with the language, all you do is alienate people. Why alienate people? We live in a democracy. People are alienating people about languages. What they want to do is set up politically correct Words. They're already not interested in democracy, not interested in free speech. They're interested in controlling speech. And they're messing around with language. It's just the beginning. We've seen their ilk before in control in the Soviet Union. You cannot satisfy them. They will keep on going and going and going until you put your foot down. And unfortunately, so often it goes so far. They get so cheeky and outrageous, like Stalin. You have to put your foot, whether you like it or not, it won't be your nature, but you're going to have to do it to survive, on their neck. Because it's, you do it to them, hopefully before they do it to you. Unfortunately, we've been very slow with recognizing the threat of communism. And a lot of people had the foot on the neck and they didn't survive in Russia. Lots of social democrats, Mensheviks, lots of socialist revolutionaries who are pretty nasty in their own right. A few anarchists. There always seem to be only a few anarchists. But anarchists in Spain during the Spanish Civil War, they found out what commies were all about. Unfortunately, many of them, it's the last lesson they ever learned. And those kind of lessons are not much good to anyone. So, no message to people who believe in their belief systems and stuff like that. Lighten up while you still can, as Jackson Browne once said, circa 1973. The Eagles sang it in circa 1972. Lighten up while you still can. In other words, don't be going out threatening people with destruction and death over your little belief system. And how it has to be treated with the utmost respect. Because you keep doing that, people are going to start taking me seriously. The Chinese have started taking the Uyghurs seriously. Their solution, unfortunately, is very, very close, I'm afraid. Well, not very, very, but somewhat close to. I'm comfortably close to the final solution. But that, unfortunately, might be the way of the world. What was that?
I think that might be a little bit extreme. I mean, they're taking their kids away.
They say they're using them for slave labor. Did the Nazis?
The adults, not the kids.
I'm talking about the adults. Mm-hmm. The Nazis weren't interested in the children. They killed them all. The Nazis weren't terribly interested in whacking the Jews off. Yeah, whacking the Jews. Until about 1942 maybe. They were just trying to get them out of the country. No one would have, including places that have been very critical of the Jews, the French. Well, the French, 40 wouldn't have any independence, but the English, I presume the Swedes were much the same. They've been very critical of Israel over decades. Canada wouldn't have them. The United States wouldn't have them. Lots of people people died as a result. So I cut back on the rhetoric. The Chinese will do whatever they think they can get away with, or whatever they think is necessary. And if that involves whacking them, they will do it. That's all I meant to suggest. We're safe. They have very few compunctions about anything, really. They've killed tens of millions of their own people in the space of much less than 100 years.
I honestly, as much as people will not like to hear this, I'm trying to think. Like, I try to put myself into understanding, into other people's thought processes or whatever circumstance, so that I can try to think through, a different solution to their problems or whatever. And I mean, if you look back at what China was doing, I mean, they were doing a one-child policy
For a while. For a long while.
Yeah, which was a great attempt to curb population growth. And then they ran into some problems, and because some of the people were exempt from that, their
including
populations
almost certainly the Uyghurs themselves
were still flying. And then what do? You don't want to be totally swamped by another culture's offspring, because then they're going to, your culture will be, if the other culture is okay with your culture, and they'll let your people survive and live a normal life, then it works out just fine. But if they're not that sort of culture, if they're a culture that is historically not very accepting of other cultures, what do? Right?
If you let a culture get the majority of the population wherever you live, that culture does not believe in democracy, particularly with the idea in a good democracy of respect for the rights of the minority, you're asking for it. Not are you just asking for it, you're going to get it.
Yeah.
So it's not a question with me of nationalism or even culturalism. The thing about democracy is it's a metaculture. Or a multiculture. It's the only way you can have a multiculture.
Well, and in a democratic society, if you don't have plans to maintain democracy in the future, what's the point? Right? And so, I don't know. Think of a way for China to deal with the Uyghur situation.
Well, they should democratize.
Think of it.
Give them some rights.
Because, criticizing them for what they're doing and just saying, oh, it has to stop. Okay, and do what? Do what instead? Because, otherwise, it's going to keep going in that direction, the way that they're taking it, so.
The Uyghurs have been doing terrorism. And the stress, it doesn't justify what the Chinese are doing to them.
But honestly, I can't think of a very good solution to this. I've been trying. I've been trying to roll through it, you know. I think this gotta be out. But unless you put up some borders, so that you go ahead and if you want to breed out of control and whatever, but you're not squeezing us out of the way, you know, so that, right? Because they already have a lot of people.
They're way too many.
Way too many.
I suspect they've gone through somewhat similar population increase, not as much as India. But India, when I was a kid, was maybe 600 million people. About twice that now.
Like
That's
in
in 2 generations. What?
When you're having more than one child per adult person, if you have more than just the replacing yourself with offspring, then you're taking food out of other people's mouths.
Absolutely.
So you're starving. You're literally starving other people.
Mm-hmm.
And you're taking more of the Earth's resources than you're at all entitled to.
This is true.
So you're driving other species extinct.
This
You're
is true.
polluting the environment.
This is true.
And
the very poop that your kids produce, is like what's happening in India, polluting streams.
I'm not saying that children are pollution. Because that's a bad way to look at it. They didn't ask to be born.
No.
But the parents are polluters.
They are indirectly polluters. They're producing way too many people. They're producing, well, poop.
It's not only poop. It's, you know, everybody wants to come to the free world so they can have a car, drive around, because everyone's rich in the free world. So they want to be rich. And it's like, okay. One, no, not everyone's rich in the free world. Although this meal was fit for a king.
Yeah. We're near the bottom end of the spectrum.
Yeah.
For the longest while, we were living on 17,500 to 18,500 a year.
A lot of people might hear that in different parts of
That's
the world
per
and
year.
say, wow, that's a lot of money.
That's awesome.
Well, you have to somehow have a heating bill in the winter so that you keep from freezing. So that takes up a fair chunk of it. You know, and you have to be able to drink water, especially when the rest of the world is throwing COVID your way. And we found that really, every time we get a vaccination, we have to really load up on water. We go through the water like crazy. And I've noticed something interesting. If, like, we're in different age groups, and a lot of couples wouldn't be. So when they're doling out the vaccines, we get them at different times. So he got his right away. And
the first one, relatively.
You were in the first group of people.
Was it?
I think
wasn't.
so.
No.
No? I think he was.
I wasn't. I know I was.
Anyway, not in my group. So he had his vaccine. And then I thought I noticed, you know, the first time he got his vaccine that I was drinking way more water while he had his vaccine. But I definitely noticed it the second time. When he got his booster, I was just going through the water like crazy. So I think that even when you get the vaccine, I think you're a little bit spready.
Could
a
be.
little bit COVID spready.
Could be.
I don't know if anybody's noticed that or anything like that. But I think I got a little bit of a dose of it because I was going through the water like crazy. And you know what? I should notice if the dogs go through the water like crazy. When they might be getting a little bit of a, exposure. So, yeah. And then when I got my last booster, which really threw me for a loop, I mean, I was hallucinating. So, at night, I was really going through the water like crazy, and I believed that a native woman was filling up my water for me all night. And she was a part of this volunteer group where they were helping care for people who got the COVID vaccine. So that was interesting.
Yeah, you had a bad reaction to that.
Yeah, I did.
Mm-hmm. That was the Moderna.
Yeah.
Second dose.
And like James said to me, well, was it a dream? And I was saying, well, it was a reoccurring thing that kept going all night. So I would have to say hallucination, not dream. But honestly, I didn't really feel that feverish. I mean, I was warm, but anyway.